Our Lady, through our Lord, we prevail. I'm doing this video because it appears that all my accounts have been frozen. Everything. This includes cash advances. I have a couple of accounts where you get a small cash advance, or you can use it as overdraft, and it's repaid every time you deposit. Apparently somebody's frozen every single one of my accounts. And this is probably due to Judge Clark's order, and Judge Ilian Fichter's order, and Judge Hoffman's order. Some of these cases never even crossed my desk, but they claim that I was served. They claim that it was all proper and right, and they claim that ultimately it went to either posting on the door or to first-class mail. And this is over debts that they refuse, all of them. Judge Ilian Fichter, actually, I never talked to her. I did talk to Judge Clark, and I did talk to Judge Hoffman. They refuse to verify my identity. And there's more than one person with my name, because I went to Independent Bank myself. And I have to be very specific when I fill stuff out, because there's more than one person with my name. There's a couple of people. One of them is my relative. He has my exact name with the same exact bank in the same exact state. So apparently they've frozen everything. And like I said, these debts were never properly litigated, but nobody will do anything about it. One of these through, Mary Jane Elliott Debt Collectors. They're actually being watched by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And another one, Midland Credit Management, has a complaint with their Better Business Bureau. And the judges don't care. The judge actually put whiteout on the form. He canceled the court case originally, but I held them accountable. I said, why is this case even went that far? You want to talk about frivolous litigation, going after somebody on disability, not even getting 100% disability from the VA, but getting partial. At that time, I was 20% plus welfare benefits, and you keep pushing this case forward. And I said, all the man hours that have been, or women hours, all of the billing hours that have went to this case so far already reaches or surpasses the actual amount of the debt. This is targeting. This is a waste of time, waste of money. This is just targeting over a debt that if ever went to any kind of appellate court, they would say, you never made proof that the original debt was there. Where is it? Who is it from? Whose name? Nothing was ever done. If this ever went to any kind of appellate system, it would automatically be canceled. And, being as Judge Clark decided to retaliate because he's friends with Judge Hoffman, who is the veterans judge in Saginaw County Court. I happen to know about him because I went in front of him for another debt that they refused to verify who the person was. So he found against me, even though they never proved who the person was and if it was even my debt. Especially being a victim of identity theft, I was upfront about everything with both of them. Like I said, I've only talked to two. Still, they let it go forward because it's targeting. It's pure targeting. And Judge Clark apparently did something which you're not supposed to do. He put whiteout on a court document. Him or his clerk. His clerks don't like me either, because I hold those clerks in the Saginaw District Court Civil Division. There's a bunch of clerks in there, at least half of the department. They're retaliatory, they're rude, they're aggressive, they're megalomaniac. They try to make it your court case about them, what happened to their family. And they're bad people. I'm not going to say all of the office, but The four ladies that sit nearest the door, the main entrance, they're bad people. Very bad people. And I'm almost positive that one of them, at one point in time, worked at the nursing home where my grandmother was when she passed away. And I'm not saying anything from that. I'm just saying that's a heck of a coincidence. And her badge said Josephine. That's a heck of a coincidence. And like I said, it was either work. It could also have been volunteer. You gotta check that stuff with HR when you go into a nursing home because sometimes there's volunteers there. And with the CNAs or the LPNs, sometimes they wear similar stuff because they're helping the LPNs, feeding. They can't do changing, but they can help feed. They can push somebody around in a wheelchair or in one of the reclining movable chairs. They can sit with somebody and feed them, stuff like that. And that's exactly what she was doing. So she could have also been a volunteer. But I found it interesting when I pointed that out. I said, "Why are you even touching my files? I know you. You used to work at the nursing home where my grandmother was before she passed away." "Oh, no, I didn't." I'm like, "Lady, I know you. I sat right next to you." And then her friend says, "Oh, no, that wasn't her. How would she even know? They work in the same office. They don't live together. How would she even know?" But when I brought this up to the judge, he didn't care. And I rebuked him. I said, "This court should have never let this proceed this far. You're wasting money. This is unpatriotic. This is unchristian for some of you who claim to be Christians." And he retaliated against me by, even though he had said, "Cancel this case," and the plaintiff, I don't even remember his name. It's always several lawyers. But, well, I don't even know if it's a lawyer. All I see is a P number. But could be operating under somebody else's law license, pro hoc vice, I believe is what they call it, but with good faith. But um, but anyway, I don't even know, what this debt is for because nobody will. They just claim it's a debt I owe, and then I asked to verify my identity. I'm like, I was never properly served. You know, just because somebody claims to put something on my door doesn't mean it was there, doesn't mean it was ripped down. This may or may not have happened, but still, the fact of the matter is, you know, if something was put on my door, um, the past couple of years, it may have happened maybe once. Something was put on my door once or twice. Sometimes the stuff gets ripped down, and one time that stuff was put on my door, I couldn't read it because it was like a carbon copy of a carbon copy of a carbon copy. I didn't even know what it was. And again, people refuse to verify the original debt. They refuse. And in Saginaw District Civil Court, they protect the plaintiff always, especially if it's a lawyer or if it's a debt collection company. Always. Very corrupt judges. And Judge Hoffman, who is the lead judge for the Veterans Court, anything that a veteran goes in front of that's criminal or family will go in front of this judge. He doesn't have any sympathy at all. He's not even a veteran. I don't care if his family members were veterans. He's another corrupt judge. And veterans have to go in front of somebody like that doesn't consider their situation, doesn't consider the overall picture, only wants to get a jab in for some political or ideological reason. He's unfit to wear the robe in front of a veteran of the military of this country. And I don't care if he's a Republican put in power by Governor Snyder. Anybody who was appointed the last 2 years by Governor Snyder should really have their background looked into. And since when does being an adoption attorney qualify somebody for being a sitting judge regarding criminal or especially veteran issues? How does that qualify him? definitely doesn't qualify him for veteran issues. And being as the bulk of a lot of adoption attorneys' work is working with wealthier people or upper middle class people who want to adopt children, um, not always not always done on the up and up. I don't feel that he should be sitting in any kind of court as an adoption attorney. But then again, I'm not the one who appointed him. And remember, the last 2 years of Governor Snyder, his uh, governance was when he was actively covering up what he did to thousands of people in Flint, but because he didn't care. Another person without empathy tried to hide the the destruction of thousands of children's and elders' lives because of lead. And you can't forget what he did to the parents. I used to live in Flint. Flint's one of my towns. A lot of good people in Flint. Their lives were ruined, their health is ruined, their kids will be struggling for years and years and years to try to, you know, to try to overcome the developmental difficulties that were given to them because of lead exposure. And what about the elders who already had frail health and then all of a sudden got cancer or immune issues? Or the parents, because they have toxic lead exposure, now struggle just to work. I used to live in Flint, that's my town, who struggled to work their two jobs to keep that house or to keep that nice apartment in the friendlier part of Flint and still raise their children right. Yeah. And we're going to give honor to a judge who was appointed during this period of time, to a governor who shamed this state. I don't really care their political background, and I don't care their religious affiliation either. And I would venture to say, if they're Catholic or Orthodox, I would really pray that their bishops um, look at if they are truly uh, a candidate to receive the Eucharist. If you're going to have horrible, despisable actions that you consciously do on purpose, you definitely shouldn't receive the body of blood of Christ. I don't care about your opinions. I'm talking about actions. Somebody's pro-choice. Somebody is anti-immigrant. Somebody's pro-immigrant. Somebody is pro-choice. Somebody is pro-life. Those are opinions. Actively covering up the health, murder, and significant harm of the future of thousands of people. Those are actions. Harshly judging a veteran who may be struggling with addiction because chronic pain. I've known them. These are the kind of people that, at least quarter to half who appear in the veterans court. Stuff like this, or drunk driving, or getting into fights because PTSD. This is the kind of judge they put on the court. Actually incenses me in not a good way. And then we can't forget the fact that these are the people that determine the direction that a veteran will go. Absolutely despicable what this town does to people. And people just sit in power for years and years and years. So that being said, I've never went to a court where I never see anybody's face. Not one person's face. I appeared via video. I should have went in person, but with my health and um, us struggling for gas. Actually, at that time, we didn't even have a car. I didn't go, but or maybe we did. I'm not sure if we did or not. But anyway, so And so I tell people, don't move to this town until they clean up their act. Or, I wish that they would send in federal investigators, because the amount of stuff that's going on to people that's wrong here, it makes Tammany Hall look like some neighborhood, back room, um, mess around, fool around, poker and gaming casino. Like some kind of joke. This is far, far beyond Tammany Hall. And I wish that God would judge this place and protect the righteous. And He would empower people to talk and connect and organize people to say, we've had enough. If you're a veteran that's been messed over by Saginaw County and you're trying to do the right thing, or you're, wrongly put in front of a court for something that was exaggerated or even lied about, or you're a family that's been wrongly, destroyed, and things happen to your family that you had thought you'd fixed, or you had tried to fix, or that did get fixed, and somebody unraveled it or lied about it. I encourage you to reach out to people. Even this channel, maybe I could facilitate people from organizing, because this stuff can't continue. I have lived in so many places in the world, and I have never seen this kind of corruption amongst Westerners who claim to be in control, who claim to be good citizens, who claim to never abuse their power and to care about, especially you hear civil rights talk a lot in Saginaw. It's shameful, absolutely shameful. And to go after a disabled veteran's money and freeze everything over a debt that was never verified, no original debt was provided, and nothing was properly served. More than likely not properly served.